What's in the basket?
Yo, it's spooky season. Halloween's right around the corner. So we back at it again with more horror movie characters that I know can't stand a foot against me because of my strength and intelligence. No one likes a long opening ceremony, so let's waste no time and get right into round one. Terrifier from the movie Terrifier is about Terrifier terrifying and murking random people.
One Mexican down.
I know his name is Art the Clown, but Terrifier is more fun to say. Now, when looking at him, he looks like your ordinary killer clown. And he is, but the difference between him and the rest is that he's brutal. He will deal with his victims in the messiest, most grotesque way possible. I don't even think I can show you any of the ways of how he do it, cause this YouTube. But he saws a woman in half from her poon to her head in front of her BFF. This dude crazy. However, I don't think he's all that terrifying based on my observations of him. In the first movie, when we get introduced to him, we as
Deadpool, if he was full evil, I guess.
the audience can subtly tell that there's something different about this guy from everybody else. I don't know if you can notice, but this man's teeth is terrible. It looked like he never picked up a toothbrush a day in his life. You can tell he at least got gingivitis or mouth cancer, so that'll lower his stats in a fight against me. He technically fighting two battles at once. He also gets bitched by the pizza shop owner for being weird and creepy. Now, this would have been an amazing moment to jump on. Even though at this point in the movie he hasn't killed anyone yet, him having a staring problem at the shop alongside his whole demeanor, I'ma assume he's trying to start something, and we fighting there. And since everyone else in the shop hate him too, they're joining in with me. Cause the way he do these murders, he strikes me as someone you can win against if you can sneak him or come in numbers when he don't got a gun. Now, I know he technically a demon since he gets revived at the end of the first and second movie, but he got no other demon powers. Plus, his revives takes at least 2 to 3 business days to do. So I'll have time for seconds. I just gotta be on my toes. This is low to mid diff at best.
Who made that mess? You did, Kate.
Long Legs is about an FBI agent who gets assigned to a case of a string of murders, and each one leaves a note signed by Long Legs. This guy. However, what's weird about these murders is other than the letters left at the scene, there's no physical evidence that this guy is the killer, even though he definitely is. Like, look at him, he gotta be guilty of something. The reason for the lack of evidence is because there's 2 more accomplices to the murders. The main character's mom and Satan, the devil himself. They've been creating dolls of their victims, giving it to them, and having the devil do the rest. So this is a powerful force I'm dealing with. How am I supposed to beat these guys when they have the literal devil on their side? Well, joke's on them, cause I deal with the devil every day. Through my struggles, temptations, anger. And almost half the time I end up winning because I have God on my side. And in a fight against these devil-worshipping demons, I believe he will give me the strength of 1,000 young niggas to punish these sinners to death in a life or death boxing match. So yes, I could confidently say, on God, I'm beating the devil alongside his ugly-ass disciples too. No diff. I have the Holy Ghost with me.
That's cut.
A Quiet Place takes place in a world where monsters called Death Angels just popped up in New York and started killing people. Although these things are blind, you can't make any sound or noise because these things will find you. So you gotta stay quiet. This is gonna be more of a how I survive than me beating them, cause what I look like trying to fight this, I'm not Epo. First, I'ma travel solo or with my direct family. I'm not traveling with no other groups, none of that, especially if they got a kid with them. Second, no kids. All of them gotta go. Cause they'll be the first ones to get us killed. Most of them be crying over the smallest things. Plus, they won't be able to run from these monsters with their little legs. They're a free meal for these things, and I'm not trying to be the appetizer. And I'm only talking little kids. If your kid is old enough to know when to shut the hell up, they're cool. But if they aren't, I'm sorry to tell you, but I highly recommend you to abandon your children. They'll only hold you back just like in real life. Who knows? They might be able to survive on their own, maybe, probably. 5% chance, but that's not nothing. So only family, no kids, and a lifetime supply of moon pies. Gotta stay fed somehow. In fact, we probably don't even gotta do all that. Cause spoilers, their weakness is high-pitched frequencies. So you can basically go to PetSmart and buy a dog whistle and have them beat.
Like
These guys aren't even much of a threat. They're like a little puppy that can rip you in half. When looking at them like that, they don't seem too scary no more, do they? Meaning they ain't gonna be a challenge for me. 10 out of 10, I'm surviving A Quiet Place while screaming.
I need you to.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm not I'm not keeping my mask on. I keep fucking. I'll just be like this.
Shake that booty, I'm blocking you, brother.
Unfriended is a movie taking place in a Skype call. A group of friends are chatting, then the ghost of their friend that self-destructed exactly a year earlier joins the call and starts murking them one by one, until one of them confesses about recording and posting an embarrassing video of her, which ended up being her 13th reason. And the ghost power level is pretty strong. It can physically break into their house, and it's shown powers of mind control. So she ain't like some of those other ghosts that exist just to haunt you and be spooky. This ghost means business. But y'all know me. No person, ghost, or
Broken jaw, bro. Bro. How the fuck I'm gonna do that? I don't think I'm on that level.
demon gonna catch me lacking. I know I can beat this ghost. The only reason these guys had a hard time with it is because these group of friends are dumber than a sack of potatoes. Although they do try calling the police once and attempt to track the ghost down as if it ain't a ghost, they don't
Thanks, Sabin. I'll do that in the next Halloween.
do nothing else to fight against this ghost. They just play along with its death games. And I'm just wondering why none of these guys are leaving. Granted, the ghost said if anyone leaves the call, they die. But they can leave the house without the ghost knowing while staying in call at the same time. Everybody's screaming and distracting on there. Laura ain't gonna notice. By the way, that's the name of the ghost. And even if she were, we don't know that because they don't even try it. Or even better, secretly text everyone in the chat to turn off their Wi-Fi at the same time. So they all leave the Skype call at once. Because with this, they technically did not leave the call. They got kicked out, so it doesn't count. And even if it do, it can't go after all of us. It's one ghost. Only one of y'all gotta die. Not me though. Or we could do the best option, which is to confess your sins. Cause spoilers, the main girl in the movie was the one that filmed Laura's 13th reason and posted it. And earlier in the film, when she was researching how to stop ghosts from killing you and your friends on FaceTime, the website said admitting guilt is the only way out. So all she had to do was say, yo, about the video and the bullying and me being the reason you shot yourself. My bad, like I didn't even know you were gonna do all that for real. She could have just done that, but instead she blames her friends when the ghost asked who did it, getting them killed with her still dying because the ghost knew she lied the whole time. Unbelievable. All of this bloodshed was completely avoidable. I've listed a few good options to beat this ghost and save your friends' lives at the same time. But you know what this girl does at the end of the movie instead? She goes on chat roulette, begging people to call the police for her. Now, if this is not the dumbest option, I don't know what is. Tell me, would you go on Omegle, talking to niggas from Timbuktu, begging them, please call the cops, a ghost is killing us on FaceTime? Like, why would that idea even
that's not the place to go. There's just people with their dicks out.
Cross your mind? These guys are so dumb in the movie. There's no saving them, but they're saving me. I am not dying in this situation, even if these were my group of friends, because I'm gonna be in that call confessing and snitching like I just received a Happy Meal at interrogation. I'm all for ride or die, but dying is always the last option for me. And if I don't have to, I ain't going to. This is a low diff ghost problem. I'm surviving.
Ooh, how do you survive Godzilla though?
Godzilla needs no introduction because everyone will know them when their big ass shows up. Some might say they aren't a horror movie character, but I know the Japanese would hate to see this nigga coming, so I'm counting them. Not only do they stand at more than 350 feet, but
bro, imagine you got a 350 feet monster in your fucking town or whatever the fuck. That's scary.
Some of its powers include nuclear breath, nuclear shockwaves, laser beams, telepathy, regeneration, flight, and fight. This thing's stats are all maxed. I'm surprised anybody stood a chance at even damaging this beast. Many people would assume the task of beating Godzilla is an impossible mission. But you know what?
True.
They said the same thing to Tom Cruise about his missions. And that guy has like 30 movies proving us wrong. So do I have a plan against Godzilla? Of course I do. Listen and learn. Now, fighting, military weapons, and nukes won't work on it. But you know what would? An Ava. We build a motherfucking Ava suit to beat Godzilla. These things are not only strong, they're crazy fast, or at least fast enough to dodge his lasers and hot ass breath. Plus, we
At this point, just make everyone able to regenerate. Like, what is this, bro? Like, what is this, bro? At this point, make everyone a god.
seen how crazy the Ava can be when it goes berserk. Against Godzilla, it might have a chance. Now you pulled up to Myrtle Beach, or how unqualified I am for this task, it won't matter, because they'll see my confidence. And when me and whoever the president will be next week meet eyes, they'll immediately be like, someone please get this man a suit and all of our tax money. Ava suit secure.
Yeah, the pro lost. Like, what?
Thanks for founding the restaurant, William.
No, it's nothing, Henry. I just want to help you sports.
Don't worry, it's just all right. Oh, I must go. See you later, my best friend.
Wow, this is the first time I met such a nice guy in my life. I can help you if you like. Huh?
Charlie. Charlie.
What?
Kiss my brother.
Okay, mate.
Hey, you know what I want. It's to take your virginity.
Yo.
Wait, why he is dead. I did nothing at all.
The hell you say? What the fuck is happening?
I heard a rumor there are some children are dead by crying so much.
Wait, that sounds lame.
I think what he wanted his wishes to cook.
What?
Hey, losers. I got some fucking gift for you.
Wait, why isn't dark in here? Oh shit, a trap.
Yes, and all of you gonna die. Golden baby is born with its last.
Oh, that's cute. Show your face in poster.
Oh, sorry. Let me introduce myself.
Hi.
So what's on? Am I sexy or what?
No way! I can't believe this!
Dummy.
I'm God.
Why I look like Mechasonic?
Wait, low key, yeah. What the fuck?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes! Yes!
Oh, hello.
Hello, Mr. Miller. The restaurant is closed because of the disappearance. Are you the person who put a yellow suit with 5 children who followed you?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Daddy isn't watching. You're wonderful.
Okay.
The hell?
Oh, what's this? A new location of Freddy with plastic animatronic. Time to make another killing spread. 4-2 in nothing.
Shut the fuck up, you filthy children.
Time to extract some souls.
Stop right here, David. I'm here to kick your ass, bastard.
No, you can't.
Yes, I will. Hey, criminal.
No,
I'm
shut
gonna...
It's open not even a week ago and now all this robots are scrapped. So what are you going to do?
Boss! Ho ho, now I have a face and left arm.
Okay!
Why is still here this stupid phone call? Oh.
Don't worry, I got this.
Are you kidding me?
What's that?
War Machine Man is back through the breach.
God damn it, what is it this time?
Easy. Give me your souls to become one. Immortal.
Inhale.
Average bastard, you think we cannot accept that?
We will not stay in your body until eternity.
After my karate training this time, we gonna wreck you.
Come at me, bro.
I show you. Demon activated. Inhale becoming a god.
Faceless personification. Left arm bazooka.
They will respond. Implant function. No one can wrestle old baby.
We have done it!
Damn, he is good. He almost killed me that I went coma for 30 years. Oh shit, I forget to say.
Yes.
Hey Mike, can you go to the circus, baby, and free his little sis because I am tired. She said daddy every time when she sees me.
Baby on the way.
Hey, you better listen, you brother, or I will teach you.
Knock knock.
Votere.
Ton entraille feu que boy.
Oh.
So,
Are you serious? There's no soul in that clown.
what?
And now I look like sort of lemonade stuff, and I'm going to kill you.
You can find me.
Fine. I don't know what happened to you since you and Henry opened Fredbear, but I will take your purple Chevrolet Impala.
Oh God, don't fuck.
Hey Henry, I need you help. My dad William killed your daughter.
Yeah, I am, honestly.
Yo, man, look at this!
61.
Hey, we found an old animatronic, so let's make a new recipe.
No, fuck that, it's attraction time.
It's just a prank, bro.
Ah, I finally awake after a long time. Oh, that's new.
Daddy?
God fucking damn it. Why I've got fucked up every time.
Come on, fire!
What is going on?
Hold up. I always come back.
How do what the fuck? You always win. You always never give me a chance.
Hey, shut the hell up. I tried to play Mega Man X Virus.
See, I always know. Wait, it's not what I mean. Hey, you. Touch the gift. I have a surprise for you.
Thanks, boss. Now I can fix you.
Bro.
Hey, wait, what?
Hey, shut up.
Oh, well?
Can I help you, mister?
Yes, I want to destroy this restaurant.
What? No.
Look at this journal.
I know what this is.
What's the matter, scared?
Stop right there!
Take a map, you idiot.
They trapped. First sport after the Inferno.
God damn it!
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her?
Father, it's me, Michael.
Elizabeth, Michael, Henry.
Bunch of sperm, man.
Look at that. Can I ask for a favor?
Well, that was 11 minutes of. Wait, what? How's it 11:46 out of 11:20? YouTube. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Send it. More Five Nights. It might be enough. FNAF. It's only 30 seconds. Same link.
Wait, Michael, is that you? I can't believe it. What are you doing here? I thought you... Michael, stop! Stop! Wait, Michael, is that you? I can't believe it. What are you...
Video games that roast you for being a creep. In Near Replicant, if you get a bit too excited at what Kane's wearing and try to get a cheeky look at her behind, she'll just kick you away and say, "This is your last warning."
Wait, what? That's funny though.
But if you can't resist and do this 9 more times, this happens.
Alright, f*** off and die, you pervy little shit.
Then there's games like Metal Gear Rising, that
Okay,
even when you're
respect.
trying to not be a creep, they make you one. Because if you try to hurt this Civ straight after you save him, the game will strip him of all his clothes. And the characters in game will even call you out for it.
This is your idea of a good time? Stripping dudes in public?
And finally, in Fable 2, the game grants you the privilege to take off all your clothes. And if you abuse this and decide you want to run around the city, thrusting your body in front of all the NPCs, the game publicly labels you with the achievement Menace to Society. Video games that roast you for being a creep.
Okay. Well, appreciate the links.
Usually, treason is met with a pretty harsh response, but after the American Civil War, none of the leaders of the breakaway Confederacy were tried, convicted or punished for treason, which raises the obvious question: why not? Why weren't the leaders of the Confederate States punished? Well, the decision to not punish Southern leaders was made by President Lincoln in early 1865. He met with military leaders, and after it was obvious that the war was going to be won quickly, Lincoln made it clear that he didn't want Confederate leaders punished. He believed that the coming years would be fraught with the risk of reigniting the war, and thus he wanted to focus on reconciliation and not retribution. His generals went along with this because he was the boss. Until he very suddenly wasn't, that is. After Lincoln had been moved, his successor, Andrew Johnson, wanted the South reincorporated into the Union quickly. The problem he faced was that many in the North, particularly politicians in the Republican Party, wanted justice to be done. Now obviously, it wasn't viable to imprison or hang everyone who had fought for the Confederacy, and so their anger was focused on the political and military leaders at the top. Jefferson Davis was arrested shortly after the war's conclusion, and there were many in the North that wanted to see him punished for all the lives lost. Johnson actually wanted this trial to go ahead, but importantly so did Jefferson Davis, which is why it never happened. You see, Davis was keen on being taken to trial because it was all but impossible to convict him of any wrongdoing. You see, the idea of the United States being one nation, indivisible, wasn't a thing in 1865. The other issue which made punishing Davis incredibly difficult was Article 3 of the Constitution. If Davis were ever to stand trial, it would have to take place in his home state of Virginia, where he would be tried by his fellow Virginians, the overwhelming majority of whom would have supported the Confederacy, so good luck with that. The same issue applied to the rest of the Confederate political leadership. They were simply never going to be found guilty by people who agreed with their actions and hated those pushing for their imprisonment. And no trial at all was seen as much better than trying to prosecute them and then being found innocent. In terms of punishing the heads of the Confederate military, everybody knew that the likes of Robert E. Lee were completely untouchable too. He and his peers held incredible loyalty from former serving soldiers. And also, Lee was a major proponent of reconciliation from both sides. As such, he had a lot of value, and punishing him and those like him would only make things a lot worse, because the mood in the US after the Civil War was extremely tense. Reintegrating the South was going to be hard enough. And so, adding half a decade of military and civil trials was only going to risk reigniting violence, and after such a bloody civil war, no American was willing to countenance that. Which is why things like the push for increasing the rights of freedmen was delayed and eventually abandoned. It was all about keeping the nation together, no matter the cost. I hope you enjoyed this episode, with a special thanks to my patrons: James Bizanet, Kelly Moneymaker, Sky Chappelle, Katoitska, Yuduan Wang, Anthony Beckett, YN Hockey, Marcus Arsner, Captain Psydog, Gustav Swan. As soon as the British turned up in India, the Indian people have wanted them gone. As you'll know, this took a while. But interestingly, whilst Britain was embroiled in both world wars and fighting for both hegemony and its very survival, India didn't try to rebel. This raises the question, why? Why didn't the Indian people revolt against British rule during World War I or World War II? So, in the decade leading up to the First World War, India was not exactly an easy place for Britain to run. Political movements calling for independence, most notably the Indian National Congress, had been around for decades. But now their organisation and influence was growing. When, in 1905, Lord Curzon, the Viceroy of India, opted to divide Bengal into two to separate the Indian and Muslim populations, the Indians reacted poorly. They collectively boycotted British goods, and some more radical revolutionaries.
Don't do anything interesting when me and Spam go to sleep. Okay, bro, what? I'm not, bro.
Attempted to assassinate British officials, which led to the partition being reversed. Things stayed heated, with the more radical members of the INC gaining momentum and thus being seen as the most likely to win India its independence. 1912 saw another attempt on the life of the British Viceroy, but a mere 2 years later, when Britain's attention was elsewhere, there was no attempt at breaking free. So why not? Well, there were several reasons. One, the British had become quite adept at rounding up and arresting any agitators who wanted to achieve independence through violence. And during the war, the British passed an act which allowed what was called preventative indefinite detention. and those arrested did not have a good time. 2. Whilst independence movements were growing in popularity, many in India didn't feel like they represented them. But the big reason that Britain won the allegiance of many Indian elites was by promising dominion status to India, which to many there was seen as
no, the day shift at Freddy's. Okay.
The first step to independence. The issue with this promise was that after the war was over, it was quickly forgotten about. The British then passed the Rowlatt Act, which allowed the British to jail any Indian for up to 2 years for literally any reason they could think of. So when World War II began, it would be safe.
You can play Dead Island 2 and React and AI. I mean, I wasn't planning to play Day Shift at Freddy's the whole stream.
To assume that the Indians would refuse to fight, but fun fact, no.
So, sure.
Whilst India had received some local autonomy, it wasn't very much, and when Britain went to war, India's viceroy was right behind them. Shockingly, this upset the people there who, of course, weren't asked, and thus many Indians refused to fight for Britain. Whilst Indians just wanted rid of Britain, the overwhelming majority saw Germany and Japan as worse. Armed rebellion wasn't on the table because the British had already arrested anyone who may have thought it was a good idea. But as you'll know, many Indian leaders actively pushed for non-violent resistance. In 1942, the Quit India movement called for a general strike across India. In response, the British arrested most Indian nationalist leaders. That said, the impact of the movement wasn't actually too bad for the British war effort. However, the sheer number of people who had turned out in support made it clear that India couldn't be kept in the empire much longer. Whilst many Brits wished to see India, or at least a part of it, remain a part of the empire, in Britain itself opposition was growing rapidly to it. And the Labour Party, who won the 1945 election, did so having promised to grant India independence, which was completed 2 years later. I hope you enjoyed this episode with the special thanks to my patrons, James Bizanet, Kelly Moneymaker, Sky Chappelle, Katoitska, Yuduan Wang, Anthony Beckett, YN.
Who is Parallax?
Alright, I just realized I have not drinking any water. I'll be right back. Get some water. Hey, gotta stay hydrated. DC.
Hal Jordan. It's Hal, but possessed by Parallax. To understand Parallax, you need to know that all Lantern colors across the emotional spectrum have a physical embodiment. In the case of the color yellow, fear, we have Parallax, an ancient cosmic fear-based parasite. Parallax was once trapped within the Green Lantern's central battery, but would seek to escape by corrupting Hal over time, which was also the explanation later given for why the hair at Hal's temples turned white. Parallax took full hold of Jordan following the destruction of Coast City in the Reign of the Supermen story arc. As Parallax, Hal went on a murderous rampage, killing the Green Lantern Corps and destroying the central battery, which freed Parallax, who merged with Hal's soul. Jordan,
looked like Joker,
however, managed to fight back against Parallax's influence to save the universe, sacrificing himself in the process. Parallax being gone from the battery would remove the Green Lantern's weakness to the color yellow, although eventually both Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and Parallax would return in the comics. Who is Parallax?
This is how Superman became Green Lantern's nightmare. Once Superman learns about missing children in Metropolis and goes around the city to investigate it. Using his super sight, Superman notices a yellow glow concentrated around an abandoned school. There he finds the children who have been kidnapped by Parallax, who is the entity living inside the Yellow Lantern's central power battery. Parallax attempts to possess Superman's body, but Kal's willpower is too great. After Parallax tortures the kidnapped children, Superman agrees to let the cosmic parasite take over his body. He allows this parasitic embodiment of fear to possess him. Before Parallax has a chance to use Superman's body to commit atrocities, the ex-servant of Parallax, Sinestro, appears and attacks him. Since Sinestro has mastered fear better than anyone in the universe, both of them were able to trap the Parallax in a yellow power ring for the time being. Also subscribe if you like this video. This is how Superman became Green Lantern's nightmare. Once Superman learns about missing children in Metropolis.
Listen. Now, I'm pretty sure the most uncontroversial thing you could say to a DC fan is that when it comes to the movies, the animated ones have always delivered.
I have to say, you're better than I am.
And you always were.
So obviously there was a lot of hype for an adaptation of Injustice, just off the premise of having an evil Superman. There's the fact that Snyder's been hinting at wanting to do this for a while, even adding that extra scene in the new cut of his version. And I'm gonna be honest, if you haven't read the series or even played the game, I do think that you can enjoy this movie.
I'm not sure about this one. Supergirl. Ah, stop. Lore. This? It's Supergirl. We watching comics.
Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by lynda.com. Today on Variant, I give you all the history of Supergirl.
I don't know if I really care.
Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than I wish I had the original theatrical poster for Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I'm your host, Aris Quinones. Since CBS's Supergirl series premiered last week, of course I had to give you guys a History of Supergirl episode. I would have normally done this episode last week, but we were still in Villains Month, so I delayed it 1 week. But in any case, let's learn about Superman's blonde-haired, blue-eyed cousin. Supergirl was created by writer Otto Binder and designed by artist Al Plastino. She was introduced in 1959 in Action Comics issue 252. Since then, a number of different characters have assumed the Supergirl mantle over the decades, with the most popular and enduring version of the character being Kara Zor-El. And of course, as most of us know, she is Superman's cousin, who shares his powers and vulnerability to kryptonite. She would go on to star in many of her own comic book series and eventually even be killed off in the 1985 limited series Crisis on Infinite Earths. DC Comics subsequently rebooted the continuity of the DC comic universe, re-establishing Superman's character as the sole survivor of Krypton's destruction. Following the conclusion of Crisis on Infinite Earths, several different characters have assumed the role of Supergirl, including Matrix, Linda Danvers, and Zor-El. And since I just mentioned the other girls who have been Supergirl over the years, I'm going to give you a brief rundown of each of them before I talk about Kara. You have the second Supergirl, Matrix. The Matrix first appearance was in Superman issue 21, and was a protoplasmic life form from a pocket universe. Matrix was able to shapeshift, turn invisible, and use telepathy and telekinesis. She was created by a heroic version of Lex Luthor from a
what angle was Superman seeing? POV.
Different universe. She was meant to be a savior. She came to this universe and took on the role of Supergirl. She joined
choked on water. That's kind of a karma. Hank's death coffin. I don't know why, but I choke on water.
Joined the Teen Titans, went into space, and fought against Brainiac, among other great adventures. Later, she gave her life to save Linda Danvers, and the two became one, which leads us to the third Supergirl, Linda Danvers. Linda Danvers eventually merged with Matrix and eventually became the new Supergirl. It was only a severe personal tragedy that forced her to quit. And for those of you wondering when she made her first debut, it was in Supergirl 1 in 1996. Then you have Zor-El, who's a human/Kryptonian hybrid created by Brainiac.
Then of course you also have Power Girl, who I didn't mention earlier, but she's the Earth 2 version of Supergirl. She is more mature and experienced than her Earth 0 counterpart, and the best friend of Batman's Earth 2 daughter, Huntress. But I'll save talking about her more in detail when I eventually give her own history of episode. Now that I've run down several of the main girls who have been Supergirl over the years, it's time to talk about the first and most loved Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, who of course is the Supergirl on the new CBS series and the Supergirl in the DC animated universe, and the list goes on. Kara Zor-El first appeared in Action Comics issue 252 in 1959, as I said earlier. And her original 1959 origin is as follows, which I'm going to summarize very briefly. When Krypton blew up, the city where she lived broke away cleanly from the planet. Her and a number of other Kryptonians had survived. The ground was transformed into kryptonite, however, which they had to cover with lead to protect themselves. Years later, a meteor shower caused the shielding that protected her planet to fail. Long story short, her parents looked for a planet to send her where she would be safe. They found Earth, where Superman lived, and sent her there. Once she arrived on Earth, she learned that Superman was her cousin, at which point Superman vowed to protect her. Now, like I said, that's her original origin, but like all comic book origins, they're tweaked and sometimes changed over the years to keep the characters fresh and updated. And the New 52 would do just that for good old Kara, giving us a new spin to her origin, which goes as follows. On Krypton in Argo City, as the planet was in its last dying days, Kara's father Zor-El had taken his brother Jor-El's research to heart. He believed, where the Science Council did not, that the planet was dying. Kara's trials were coming up, where she would take part in ceremonies and tests that would usher her into full adulthood in the eyes of Kryptonian society. Zor-El planned to save all of Argo City with the
Direct doggo, ain't that the doggo we saw in the game?
devices disguised as power generators that he had convinced the Science Council to place around the city. But he was not willing to risk his daughter in the plan because he wasn't sure it would succeed. That's love, kids. That's love. That being the case, he constructed a pod
That's the doggo. I guess I don't know that.
similar to the one his brother had theorized. He then brought Kara to his lab in Argo City under the pretext of giving her a present in honor of her upcoming trials. He showed her the pod, and inside was the Kryptonian ceremonial battle armor that she would have received upon completion of her trials.
Break it for you, you don't resurrect any dead people. Black power rings go to dead people and then revive them and make them serve to the maker of the Black Lanterns. Oh. Well, it's cool if I'm the maker of the Black Lanterns. And it's cool. But if you're the one getting resurrected, you're pretty much a slave, I guess. You ain't. Hey, alternative universe, never know.
She tried it on, but when she did, she fell unconscious because Zor-El had rigged the suit to put her to sleep. And for all of you wondering how Supergirl got her costume, that's how she got her costume. In the New 52, at least. Barely hanging on to consciousness, she begged her father not to do what he was doing. Zor-El explained why he was doing it, but then her mother, Alora, arrived and fought her husband in an attempt to rescue Kara from his plans. Alora won, but was too late to stop the launch. Kara was sent off to Earth's solar system, where she would orbit Earth's sun for years in stasis, until her pod would finally leave orbit and take her to Earth. Kara arrived on Earth.
Why do they make every girl in any piece of media have more skin shown than males? You know.
Earth in Russia and emerged in
I mean, this was made all the way from 1980s, right? And back then there were no limits. Yeah.
to the frozen tundra. Within minutes, she was confronted by a squad of Russian-speaking soldiers in high-tech battle armor. Naturally, Kara did not understand their language in the slightest. She didn't understand what was happening and assumed she was having a dream. When their calls for her surrender got no response, they attempted to restrain her forcefully. And that's when the sunrise happened and Kara discovered that she had heat vision in this quote-unquote dream she was having. A battle ensued, which she was winning, but then her cousin, Kal-El, aka Superman, showed up. And that, my friends, is the gist of Supergirl's origin in the New 52. We see throughout the series that Supergirl is basically just trying to find her place in the world and the universe. She even becomes a Red Lantern at one point, which is freaking awesome. They need to make an action figure of Red Lantern and Supergirl, because I'd buy that. I'd buy that all day long, DC. Now that you know a little bit more about Supergirl's history and origin, let's talk about her powers. She basically has all the powers of Superman, like flight, super hearing, healing, heat vision,
Makes
invulnerability, super breath, super strength, super intellect, x-ray vision, and super speed. Basically, Kara is incredibly OP, but her powers don't end there. In the New 52, she can do what's dubbed the solar bomb or solar flare, which is basically just like Superman's new solar flare power. It works by releasing the solar energy within her like a bomb, an attack which has proved so powerful it even hurt Wonder Woman. She could use the same ability to a lesser extent in order to raise her body temperature to incredible levels to turn herself into a living torch. But now that brings me to reading recommendations, because I'm sure by now some of you want to know some good Supergirl stories. You have Supergirl The Silver Age Volume 1, Supergirl Last Daughter of Krypton, Supergirl Red Daughter of Krypton, Supergirl by Peter David and Gary Frank, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and Superman Batman Supergirl. Lynda.com is an online learning company with more than 77,000 video tutorials that teach software, creative, and business skills. Membership.
Alright, appreciate the links. Hello, YouTube! Don't forget to like and subscribe.
What's up guys, it's me Lumos Theromax, and today we're actually here to talk about Bleeze, the wildly powerful Red Lantern, and pretty much her scaling, but I'll also be doing a general review of...
Oops. How that got in there? Different Red Lantern?
her origins, as well as just some general like story arc things. And be sure to thank Maverick, my one of my OG members of the Theromax Corps, who actually requested this video. It's pretty hard to talk about a Red Lantern other than Atrocitus for once. So
rather than staring at a wall until more X-rays start.
What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content here on my channel, then make sure you hit the like button, and make sure you hit subscribe so you can help decide what direction the content on my channel goes in the foreseeable future. Okay, so we are getting into the origin of the Orange Lanterns, also known as Agent Orange. Now here's the cool thing about this. This is the last prelude that we cover before we finally get into Blackest Night. I'm pretty sure it is, although now that I think about it, I think Emerald Eclipse might be the last prelude that we do. I'll have to double check and make sure. I looked at my schedule earlier and I'm pretty sure it's Emerald Eclipse. But in terms of the Lantern Corps, the Orange Lantern, in truth, I would argue is probably the most powerful of the Lantern Corps. And the only reason for this isn't the nature of the Corps itself, it's how the Corps is used. But before we get into that, what we do here is we pick up with a group called the Controllers. Now the Controllers first appeared in Adventure Comics number 357, I think it was, back in 1967, and they were an offshoot of the Guardians of the Universe. Now if you're just now joining us with regards to all our Green Lantern mythos and our Green Lantern stuff, the Guardians of the Universe are this extremely old race. They've been alive for billions and billions of years. They were originally a race called the Malthusians, and the idea was that one of their member, a guy by the name of Krona, wanted to witness the beginning of all things. The problem with this was that in doing so, he basically created the antimatter universe, or the origin of evil, in the DC universe, and the result is that that led to the events that eventually became Crisis on Infinite Earths. Now the idea here is that with the Controllers themselves, what they ended up doing is where some of the Malthusians, some of the women broke off and became the Zamorons, who were basically the creators of the Star Sapphire's Lantern Corps. The Controllers broke off, and then they just kind of isolated different sections of the universe. For the most part, they were background characters. Now what this does is it brings into the idea that there were sections of the universe that the Green Lanterns were not allowed to enter, and they were not allowed to enter under the ruling of the Guardians of the Universe. When the Guardians of the Universe made the Green Lantern Corps, they'd already been around for quite some time, and the idea was that for whatever reason, no one could ever enter the Vega system. Now we end up having the Controllers enter this area, and when they do, it's just kind of this disembodied voice talking about how the Guardians of the Universe broke their promise, the Guardians of the Universe betrayed them, the Controllers themselves want to basically defeat the Guardians of the Universe, take their rightful place as the ruler of the universe, and they believe they can achieve this by basically capturing the orange light of avarice, the greed aspect of the emotional spectrum. Now remember, if
General, this we watching? No. But
If you're new to this, when it comes to the Green Lantern mythos, originally it was just the Green Lanterns and then Sinestro who had a Yellow Lantern ring. The idea with Jeff Johns in terms of him revamping it all was to basically come along and say, there is something called the emotional spectrum. And the emotional spectrum is basically, it really just kind of exists as an extension of all emotion that exists in the universe. So as long as there are people who feel rage, fear, people who feel hope, those aspects of the emotional spectrum will always be there. Greed is one of the aspects of the emotional spectrum. But where the Green Lantern Corps has, all these different members who exist to serve as a police force, because this is the emotion of greed, there's only ever one member of the Orange Lantern Corps. Now, we don't initially see who this guy is. Instead, the controllers are just kind of set upon by all these orange constructs and effectively just ripped to pieces. Now, what this does is this comes out of the last video that we did, where we basically covered the Blue Lanterns. Again, the Blue Lanterns are the Lantern Corps of Hope. Now, a lot of people look to the Blue Lanterns and say, in terms of overall corps, which is to say corps that consist of more than one person, the Blue Lanterns are the most powerful. And in a lot of ways they are, just because of the different abilities they have, the kind of things that they can do. They're more of a support Lantern Corps. But again, all the lanterns have their caveats. A Blue Lantern ring is basically useless. It's not really effective unless it's in the presence of a Green Lantern. And the reason for that is because the Blue Lanterns were created by Ganthet and Sade, two of the Guardians of the Universe who believed in the idea that the prophecy of Blackest Night was going to come true, which is to say a war between all the Lantern Corps. In order to prepare for this War of Light, they created the Blue Lanterns. The problem with this is that they were outcast from the Guardians of the Universe. They were basically banished, and so the idea that Hal Jordan is essentially bonded with a Blue Lantern ring and a Green Lantern ring is basically this idea that the original indication seemed to be that he was going to be the leader of the Blue Lantern Corps. The problem with this is that with him having this ring, he can't just remove it. In fact, there's basically an effect on this ring that he can't remove it until he's able to wield the Lantern ring. Now, this is really just designed to allow Hal Jordan to tap into the various aspects of the emotional spectrum. And that's really what Jeff Johns was shooting for when he did this. Keep in mind, when it comes to the Green Lantern mythos in DC, Hal Jordan is front and center. He's the front runner to all that. And so the idea here is that Jeff Johns was working on this ideology of basically having Hal Jordan go through all these different experiences with the Lantern rings. And what that would do is it would give the reader a clearer understanding of what the rings were capable of. Because it's one thing to see like the Indigos, suddenly show up and use their Lantern rings and so on and so forth. And then it's another to have Hal Jordan become one of their lanterns and then basically give us an explanation of what the ring is capable of. But with this whole situation, he simply just, again, cannot remove the ring. And so at this point, he's just trying to cope with it as best he can. Now, what also ends up happening here is he actually bails out for the purpose of trying to find Sinestro. So again, all this really kind of comes to a head leading up to this massive War of Light, this huge, Blackest Night event that's going to take place. The problem with this is that as soon as Hal Jordan takes off on his mission, he's immediately brought before the other members of the Guardians of the Universe who look at him and say, you've been tainted by Ganthet and Sade. They are outcasts. You are not to associate with them. One thing to keep in mind is the Guardians of the Universe play the Green Lanterns pretty close to the vest. There's not a lot of wiggle room for Green Lanterns to kind of do what it is that they want to do. There's a very strict set of rules that the Green Lanterns have to follow. They can't use their rings for selfish purposes. They have to use them for the purpose of operating as police, more or less, or I guess a protective force in the DC universe. Now, of course, with the Guardians of the Universe more or less trying Hal Jordan, or at the very least intending to basically remove the Blue Lantern ring from him, some of the Green Lanterns basically traveling back with a piece of the Orange Lantern itself, what this ends up revealing is the presence of Larfleeze. Now, Larfleeze is super powerful, but before we get into why, what we end up doing here is basically having this explanation that there was a deal that was struck, more or less, between the Guardians of the Universe and Larfleeze. They stay away, he stays away, everybody stays fine. It's just a totally neutral thing. What ended up happening is that with the controllers entering into the Vega system for the purpose of pursuing the Orange Lantern Light of Greed, what ended up happening is that Larfleeze interpreted this as the Guardians violating their treaty, basically invading the Vega system. And the result was that he looks at this as an act of aggression and says, fine, if you attack, I attack too. And that leads into his whole presence here. Now, one of the things that we do is we actually switch over to a character named Fatality. Now, all of this goes all the way back to a story called Cosmic Odyssey, and it was actually issue number 2, and it was written by Jim Starlin in 1989. Now, this was kind of a spacefaring story, but one of the elements was designed to focus on John Stewart as a character. Keep in mind, when it came to the different Green Lanterns, first there was Hal Jordan, then there was John Stewart, followed by Guy Gardner, and then eventually Kyle Rayner. But John Stewart's character being fleshed out was again designed to make him more human, because remember, when it came to the Green Lantern mythos before the whole original Green Lantern Rebirth story and this huge run by Jeff Johns, Green Lantern was always struggling to sell. DC always had one heck of a time trying to get people to read his stories, and the result was that they began bringing in different versions of the Green Lanterns on Earth, really kind of bringing in like John Stewart as a companion of sorts to Hal Jordan for the purpose of bringing in readers who wouldn't normally read those stories. The idea here, though, was that this story dealt with the anti-life equation. Of course, the anti-life equation being most well known as a Jack Kirby creation, and basically serving as a means that if somebody's able to decipher the anti-life equation and harness it, they can dominate the wills of others. But what this ended up doing is it brought both John Stewart and Martian Manhunter to a planet called Zanshi. At least I think it's pronounced Zanshi. It's Xanshi. I assume that's how it's pronounced. But the idea here is that with Zanshi, what we ended up finding out was that there was basically this massive bomb in the core of the planet. But with John Stewart being a bit reckless, with John Stewart kind of getting carried away with his powers to a degree, he ultimately was not able to keep the bomb from detonating. And the result is that it wiped out the entire planet of Zanshi, destroyed all of its native inhabitants. Now, this was important because the character of Fatality, really her name being Yara Sindril, I think is how you pronounce it, she was basically one of the members of this planet. Of course, she was off-world at the time that it happened, but the idea was that John Stewart had basically destroyed everything she knew and loved. And so from 1989 going up to the time this story's written, she had largely served as this on-again, off-again villain of John Stewart, in the sense that she would pop up from time to time. But it was a way for DC to basically give John Stewart his own version of Sinestro. And so because of this, what ended up happening is during Sinestro Corps War, because she was such an enemy of John Stewart, she became a member of the Sinestro Corps. This led into the end of Sinestro Corps War itself. She was captured by the Star Sapphires, and they basically began modifying her for the purpose of turning her into a Star Sapphire. And so again, with Star Sapphires being driven by love as the one emotion they feel more than anything else, what this does is it sends Fatality on a quest to basically find John Stewart. Now, of course, this again leads directly into the whole Vegas system. This basically results in the Guardians of the Universe and Hal Jordan, along with the other Green Lanterns, seeking out Larfleeze. Because again, at this point, Larfleeze is kind of this unstable element. He's kind of this guy where no one really knows what he's going to do. He's very much a variable in this whole situation. But despite everything that's going on, remember, Hal Jordan is largely plagued by the Blue Lantern Ring. Now, for the most part, it works out in his benefit, because remember, the Blue Lantern Rings bolster the power of the Green Lantern Ring. And so what this basically does is it basically, it really amplifies what it is that he's able to.
Yeah, it might be actually Pink Lantern. Or maybe Blue Lantern. Because hope and shit. I mean, if I'm black, I'm just a slave. That's fucked. Wait, that sounds so bad. That sounds so bad out of context.
To do. One ring charges the other. And so because of that, it's constantly keeping its power at absolute max 100%
No, that
of
sounds
the time.
so
Now, of course,
bad out
when
of context. I'm cooked.
They end up arriving on the Vega system, they're immediately met with these orange constructs of Larfleeze. And that's the difference between the way his core works and other cores. Because of the fact that Larfleeze is the only member of the Orange Lantern Corps, what he does is he basically kills people and then duplicates their essence and turns them into constructs. What this does is it gives him a limitless supply of constructs to create. So long as there are people out there that he can kill, they get bolstered and added to his Lantern Corps. Now, the other half of this is that he's been doing this for quite some time. More so than that, what ends up happening is the Green Lanterns, when they face off against the Orange Lantern Corps, they're basically facing off against former friends and allies. And that's what makes this so difficult, because they're basically forced to fight people they fought alongside at one point along the line. But that's the nature of the Green Lanterns, overcoming fear. And so in the face of all this, what they basically have to do is come to grips with the fact that these constructs as they exist are not the people that they knew, and there's no way to get them back. They're effectively gone. Now, at the same time, because of the fact that Hal Jordan is wielding a Blue Lantern ring, Larfleeze, of course, tries to acquire it for himself. And that's the other half of the story when it comes to his character. Larfleeze, with all the power that he possesses, quite literally takes on the entirety of the Guardians of the Universe and the Green Lantern Corps all at the same time. And
should take out the lenses from the glasses wearing and put them into a pair of goggles. Why not just get goggles?
The reason why is because as the only Orange Lantern, he's mainlining those powers. Remember, he's greedy. He keeps everything to himself. And of course, we'll find out why here in a little bit. He would never trust his Orange Lantern, or his Orange Central Power Battery to anybody else. What this means is that with the Green Lantern, for example, the Green Lantern Central Power Battery operating as the source of energy for all the Green Lanterns that exist out in the universe, if you were to take that, Green Lantern Central Power Battery, you were to take...
Why would I have some goggles laying around? What?
all the other Green Lantern's powers away, and then you were to plunge that Green Lantern Central Power Battery into a singular person, they would be almost unstoppable. And
you have why?
In fact, that's a statement that the Guardians of the Universe make. What they do is they basically say Larfleeze is a threat on par with Hal Jordan when he was Parallax. Now, for those of you guys who are new and you don't know what that means, back in 1993, when DC was basically trying to revamp the Green Lantern mythos and look to kill off Hal Jordan and replace him with Kyle Rayner, what they did is they launched a story called Emerald Twilight. And this came out of the death of Superman. Following Superman being killed at the hands of Doomsday, Cyborg Superman rose to prominence, and then alongside one of Superman's most notable enemies, a guy named Mongol, attacked Coast City, the home of Hal Jordan. Now, Hal Jordan was off planet at the time that happened, but when he came back, he found out that everything that he knew and loved was totally destroyed. Now, initially, he coped with it as best he could by using his lantern ring to recreate everything around him. This, of course, violated the laws of the Guardians of the Universe in that you can't use a ring for selfish purposes. He was brought back to Oa, he was chastised, he lost his mind, wiped out all the Green Lanterns that were in existence, was possessed by Parallax, the living embodiment of fear, and then basically went on this crusade to try to blink the multiverse out of existence and bring it back. It was absolutely nuts. But the big takeaway from all this is that Hal Jordan as Parallax was one of the most, if not the most, powerful being in existence at that time. Larfleeze seems to be on par with that. Now, this is in terms of the power that he can use, what he can create. I wouldn't go as far as to say that Larfleeze can basically try to destroy the universe. It's entirely possible, but there's no reason to believe that that's true at the time this story is being written with regards to Agent Orange. But again, because of the fact that he's so obsessed with collecting things for himself, with all the power that he has, what we also end up finding out here is that the Orange Lantern Ring, the orange constructs created by Larfleeze himself, have the ability to absorb constructs of other Lantern Corps. And so essentially what's happening is the Green Lanterns, the Guardians of the Universe, they're fighting off Larfleeze as best they can, but none of their weapons have any real impact. And so the result of all this is that Larfleeze is basically running amok on these guys. He's absolutely wrecking these guys. And so the result is that while these constructs are out fighting against the Guardians of the Universe, he basically gives his story to Hal Jordan. But something that I want you to take note of when it comes to these constructs is that they're not really being controlled directly by Larfleeze. And that's one of the other big differences here. When Larfleeze conjures his constructs, they function according to the will of Larfleeze, but they do it in their own capacity. If Larfleeze says, I want those guys to die, and he conjures constructs, those constructs can think for themselves, they're sentient, they can do what it is they want to do, but they'll be driven by the motivation to kill whoever it is that Larfleeze wants to see dead. What we end up finding out here is that Larfleeze and a handful of other guys were basically scavengers slash thieves, but the idea was that they were in the midst of this heist because supposedly there was rumor that there was a treasure so great that even the Guardians of the Universe would seek it out, that they would covet that. Now, once they went to this treasure room, once they basically located it, they ended up finding out this was the Orange Lantern Ring. Now, we're not explicitly told how that lantern ring got there, but the idea is that because this represents the greed aspect of the emotional spectrum, as soon as all four guys lay eyes on it, they're immediately driven by the desire to covet it for themselves. This, of course, leads to the arrival of the Guardians of the Universe who realize what's going on. But with Larfleeze harnessing the Central Power Battery on his own, what this does is it leads to him just going on an absolute rampage. And so the result of this was that a bargain was struck between the Guardians of the Universe and Larfleeze. Again, like we said earlier, the Guardians stay away, Larfleeze stays away. They never allow Green Lanterns to go to that area. The only people who do go through there are those who just kind of stumble, make mistakes, and just happen to cross the path of Larfleeze, after which almost none of them are ever seen or heard from again. Larfleeze
came back home with a Samsung Galaxy. Oh.
will kill them and then just hoard whatever it is that they have. He's literally the epitome of a hoarder. But the idea here is that with Larfleeze essentially seeming to overcome Hal Jordan, he quite literally takes the Blue Lantern ring away from him. What we end up finding out is that this is actually a ruse. The Blue Lantern ring basically protected itself by creating kind of a telepathic image. The idea here is that the Blue Lantern ring tricks Larfleeze into believing that he actually has access to it when he really doesn't. Now, of course, this results in Hal Jordan basically bolstering his Green Lantern ring using the Blue Lantern ring and then just attacking Larfleeze as best he can. But again, there's no absolute way for them to win here because Larfleeze is so powerful. And so in the midst of all this, Hal Jordan does the only thing he can do and literally takes the orange power battery away, which is kind of a cool thing. But this is again another example that we were talking about with Jeff Johns basically having Hal Jordan tour these roles of the different Lantern Corps. In this instance, with him acquiring the Orange Lantern Central Power Battery, the result is that he immediately is overcome by greed in every sense of the word. He wants to eat everything, he wants to collect everything, he wants absolute power. He's driven by the desire to gather everything around him. This is my Central Power Battery. No one can have it. It's absolutely mine. That's what makes this so cool, is because again, the emotional spectrum is designed to represent these various
How is this not interesting, Saban?
emotions that people feel. The other half of this is that with Larfleeze, again, being the only person who has access to the Central Power Battery of the Orange Lantern Corps, what he ends up doing is just supercharging himself. And so where the ring normally functions at like 100% capacity or something along those lines, he supercharges it 70 times over, basically bringing it to a charge of 7,000 times more powerful than it normally is, or I guess 70 times more powerful than it normally is at 7,000%. We're talking about a level of power that almost no one really seems to be able to cope with, no one really seems to be able to do anything with. Now again, this brings in the second aspect of the Blue Lantern ring. Because the Blue Lantern ring kept chiming in and saying, what is it that you hope for? Hal Jordan basically responds by saying, I hope you stop asking me that question. Now, this is a big deal when it comes to the Blue Lantern rings, and it's part of that whole caveat that a person constantly has to feel hope. When you're imbued with a Blue Lantern ring, you have to feel legitimate, true, and untainted hope, which is to say you genuinely believe what it is that you're hoping for. So again, with this idea of Hal Jordan saying, I hope it'll stop asking me this question, it's legitimate hope. Now, it doesn't mean that like his wildest dreams are going to come true. What it means is it allows him to tap into the Blue Lantern ring. Now, this hope that he feels is contextual, right? Like, you know, if for example, Hal Jordan were to say, I really like having this Blue Lantern ring, then he wouldn't hope to be rid of it anymore. And the result is that his hope would have to shift to something else. He would have to hope for something and then use that as the anchor that keeps him connected to the Blue Lantern ring. But in this moment right now, because of the fact that he's able to tap into the ring in its full power, what it does is it reveals that the Blue Lantern ring is immune to the effects of avarice. It's immune to the Orange Lantern ring. And that's why this is so powerful, because when it comes to the Blue Lanterns, they're designed to basically oppose all.
Hank looks so stupid with a mustache like that. Okay.
Forms of evil. And so the idea is that in addition to opposing all forms of evil and at the same time offering itself as a support role to all forms of good, it's basically the backbone of almost all the Lantern Corps. And that's why it's so important. That's why it's so powerful. It's the foundation by which almost all these houses sit. And so the result is that while he feels it momentarily, while Larfleeze is basically overcome, when this is done, when it's over with, the ring basically takes off. That was the condition. The ring would leave as soon as Hal Jordan was able to wield it. But again, this is part of that whole idea of Ganthet and Sade, these two exiled members of the Guardians of the Universe, looking to the future, basically saying, if this war of light is going to happen, then it's important that Hal Jordan, among all others, be exposed to these various Lantern Corps so that he knows how to deal with them accordingly. And so because of this, when everything basically winds down and it comes to an end, the Guardians of the Universe strike another bargain with Larfleeze. We're not initially told what this bargain is. Instead, the Green Lanterns are basically sent back, the Guardians of the Universe travel back to Oa, and we end up finding out that the request that was made by Larfleeze was to know the location of the Blue Lantern Corps. Now again, this works out for the Guardians of the Universe, the ones that are currently occupying it. Because remember, with Ganthet and Sade being exiles, they've basically been branded as heretics, as people who are fearmongers. The idea that they're espousing this whole war of light, blackest night, it goes directly in line with what the normal Guardians of the Universe are trying to do, which is basically ignore the war of light. And so what this does is it allows them to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If they send Larfleeze over to the Blue Lantern Corps, most likely it'll be a conflict that will see deaths on both sides. Even if Larfleeze is defeated and not all the Blue Lanterns die, it could result in the death of Ganthet and Sade, which means that there would be nobody left to make any Blue Lanterns. Not only that, it would probably also see the wholesale slaughter of the Blue Lanterns themselves. And so it would basically allow the existing Guardians of the Universe to wipe out those they consider to be adversaries in one fell swoop. It'll literally just bring them all out. You know, it'll just take them all out in their entirety. So again, this is really just kind of how sinister some of these Guardians are. It's really how they look at the things around them and say, it's time to basically bring everything under our wing and to carve the universe out in a way that we perceive to be it existing in our image. But with that being said, guys, we're gonna go ahead and bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure
DO6? What? Oh, Black Ops 6. I never played Call of Duty. Oh no. Oh,
what's going on, guys? This is Rob,
was,
and if you're enjoying
the DO6 was okay. Wait, that was the my bad.
I've been looking forward to this for quite some time.
Atrocitus, the ruthless leader of the Red Lantern Corps. On a self-imposed mission to avenge the death of his family and people, DC's Atrocitus is an alien who leads the Red Lantern Corps. He was created by writer Jeff Johns and artist Ethan Van Sciver. Before he had founded the Corps, Atrocitus underwent an arduous journey as he sought power to go against the perpetrators of his misery. In the process, he learned a lot about the universe, particularly prophecies, made allies and enemies, and discovered a black power that went far and beyond the power harnessed by the light of the lanterns. Even though he's deemed to be a supervillain, several fans consider him to be an anti-hero. In fact, he's quite the victim in his situation. Even though his morals aren't the best, in this video we will go over his journey as the survivor of a massacre to a formidable foe. Before diving into the content, we would like to make a very small request to our viewers. Please subscribe to Modified whenever we upload a video. We would be grateful to you. From escaping death to a dreaded villain. Before we get to the details, let's go over the power of emotion, shall we? After sentient life began in the universe, an interesting spectrum was created, the emotional spectrum. It branched out into 7 colors, where each color was the representative of an emotion, and these emotions powered the core of their respective colors. The Green Lantern Corps are powered by green, the color of willpower. Yellow is the representative of fear, think parallax. Blue is hope, violet is love, orange is avarice, indigo is compassion, and lastly, red is rage. This red light of rage powers the Red Lantern Corps, which has been founded and is led by Atrocitus himself. Characterized by his uncontrollable rage, he often makes his opponents succumb to their own anger. However, it's not all black and white or good and bad with him, since there's a reason he's so angry. A group of robotic sentinels, aka the Manhunters, were created to safeguard the universe, or act as the universal police force. These robots were devoid of any emotion, and they only—
Why would he copyright me? I mean, even if it is copyright, I can cut it.
ruled by logic. As a result, they couldn't differentiate between right and wrong from a moral point of view. At first, the plan worked out perfectly, i.e. until the Manhunters experienced a simultaneous glitch, where they believed that as long as organic life exists, there cannot be order in the universe. And so, they slaughtered almost everyone in the worlds of Sector 666. During the massacre of Sector 666, the Guardians of the Universe caused the death of Atrocitus' family. As a result of this atrocity, he swore revenge and made an enemy out of the Guardians. There were 5 remaining survivors, and Atrocitus was one of them, alongside Royum, Cole, and 2 others. Together, they formed the 5 Inversions to avenge those who were killed. Since the Manhunters were unleashed by the Guardians directly came under Atrocitus' line of fire. He became the leader of this organization. The 5 Inversions used sorcery and blood rituals to find a power that they could use against the Guardians. Somewhere down the line, they saw a future where the universe was devoid of life, i.e., the Blackest Night. Now, they wanted to harness the power of black. Interestingly, there is a power system where several living beings are fueled by powers stemming from colors and light, but when every color is absorbed, it creates black, a color which signifies the absence of color. Anyway, they formed the Empire of Tears, a domain that spanned almost 3 galaxies. However, the Guardians took on the 5 inversions in their own domain and crucified them on Yasmalt, their throne world. The planet was also declared to be off limits to the Green Lantern Corps, so you can see how Atrocitus had a very rough start. Later, they were seeked out by the Green Lantern named Abin Sur, who tried to find the survivors of a crash. Atrocitus refused to be of assistance to him, but Cole, one of the 5 inversions, helped him out. Cole told Sur about the location of the survivors, Sur's fate, and the prophecy that predicted the Blackest Night. After this, Sur would often go back to Yasmalt to learn how the Blackest Night could be prevented. He even freed Atrocitus to take him to Earth, which was the origin plan of the Black. During this time, Atrocitus used the yellow impurity to instill fear in Sur to weaken him. He then escaped after wounding Sur mortally and landed on Earth. Atrocitus violently rampaged the planet, killing innumerable troopers. Here, he performed a ritual which made him seek out Black Hand, or William Hand, the herald of the Blackest Night. Atrocitus created a cosmic weapon to seek out Hand and tracked a human who would supposedly play a big role in the Blackest Night. Atrocitus believed that Hand's insides held the doorway to the darkness, so he tried to take him back to Yasmalt, but he was stopped by a rookie, Hal Jordan, and Sinestro. William Hand was saved, but Atrocitus attacked with his new device. It depleted the Lantern Rings of its powers, but Sinestro's power battery came to the rescue. However,
well, but Green is kind of like police, though, by the rules. Wouldn't that be Batman? Because he works with police and stuff. No? Justice and all? Oh no.
They still weren't strong enough to overpower Atrocitus. However, Hal Jordan saved the day, and Atrocitus was contained and taken to Oa. Later, Sinestro was given a prophecy by the 5 inversion, one about a
Calendars are filled with motions of will. Does not have it.
rebellion plaguing Sinestro's homeworld of Korrigar. Rage of the Red Lanterns. After the Sinestro Corps War, Atrocitus became the first person to wield the power of rage with a Red Lantern power battery. He sought out Sinestro, who used to call himself the greatest Green Lantern in the past. Atrocitus's power battery needed blood for activation, and he got that blood after he used the ring to beat his ally, Cole, to death. He then founded the Red Lantern Corps to destroy Sinestro, killed the other inversions, formed a central power battery with their blood, and created a red power ring. No matter how rageful he was, he could not go against Sinestro by himself, mainly because Sinestro would obviously have aid and allies, so Atrocitus gave out the Red Lantern rings to some of Sinestro's victims to form his own army. They were able to absolutely demolish several Green Lantern Corps, as well as those from the Sinestro Corps. In the end, Sinestro was captured and Atrocitus and company headed back to Yasmalt. In the capital, Sinestro was crucified as Atrocitus vowed to destroy Korrigar, Sinestro Corps, and the Green Lantern Corps by using Sinestro's blood for new rings to power his Red Lantern Corps. To take a huge toll on Sinestro and instill him with fear, Atrocitus decided to kill his daughter. However, the Sinestro Corps and the Blue Lanterns arrived to rescue Sinestro when Jordan was able to injure Atrocitus. They saved Sinestro and retreated to Quard, while Atrocitus tracked down the homeworld of the Blue Lanterns. Blackest Night. The most anticipated storyline with reference to Atrocitus. Blackest Night saw the descent of Black Power rings onto Yasmalt. It revived the bodies of the other inversions, after which Cole tried to kill Atrocitus, who survived because the Red Lantern ring can replace the heart. After taking an L against Hal Jordan and company, Atrocitus agreed to aid them in their battle against the Black Lanterns. However, he would go back to his original scheme of killing the Guardians after the conflict. During this time, Atrocitus sensed the spirit of a Black Lantern Spectre and wished to obtain its powers after freeing the spirit. Parallax ended up freeing the Spectre, but Atrocitus could not harness its power as it was the true spirit of rage and vengeance, and it wasn't up for being trifled with. Brightest.
Well, the downside to Red Lanterns is that when once a Red Lantern, you can't remove the ring, because it's what keeps you alive. Oh. So your mind is filled with rage a lot. The ring will leave you if you don't got the rage anymore. Express love, if you express love, you do. Meaning you do die. That's kind of difficult to have, but okay. Blue Lanterns can actually save you from it. Oh. You gotta count on a Blue Lantern.
Today, Atrocitus is once again made to work alongside Guy Gardner and Ganthet for a mission. He arrives in New York City to find the entities of the emotional spectrum. He uses their blood to perform rituals that allow him to locate every entity except Parallax and Ion. In this storyline, it also revealed that despite being the embodiment of rage, Atrocitus had developed some heart and sensitivity, as he did not want to kill the innocent. That shouldn't be a surprise, since this guy is taking things this far to avenge his people, and not because of some unjustified rage and bloodlust. In fact, he had a wife and children who were killed during the Manhunters massacre. Atrocitus locates the rage entity known as the Butcher and imprisons it. During this time, he comes across Krona, the Owen whose actions created the Guardians. Atrocitus took out his pent-up anger against him after years of waiting. However, Krona exercised the rage entity that Atrocitus had captured to harness its powers, and ended up defeating Atrocitus and the new Guardians. Following this, Krona left with the entities, while the new Guardians and Atrocitus had to find Krona again. War of the Green Lanterns. Following Krona's departure, Larfleeze detects Ophidian, entity of avarice, at Riot. The other new Guardians and Atrocitus follow suit to find Krona, who is missing in action. Here, they come across the Book of the Black, which reveals that the glitch that caused the Manhunters to wipe out Sector 666 was programmed by Krona himself. Later, Guy, Ganthet, and Atrocitus made a pact, which stated that after Krona was defeated, he would be handed over to Atrocitus for justice.
I am Atrocitus, Lord.
The first comic book appearance, Explored. For his very first appearance, Atrocitus did not get a specific storyline of his own. He appeared kind of in the comic version of a cameo role in Green Lantern Volume 4, Issue 25. The comic was published on November 5th, 2007, but had a cover date of January 2008. It was written by Jeff Johns, who has a plethora of big names under his belt such as Flashpoint, several Green Lantern comics, Justice League Origin, and so on. This issue revolves around the Sinestro Corps and ends with the birth of the Black Lantern. Within the first 10 pages of the story, after the colors of the emotional spectrum are introduced, a 2-page spread of a battle reveals Atrocitus for the very first time in the bottom right section of the page. As the Green Lantern Corps and the Sinestro Corps battle each other, Ganthet and...
If you do plan on watching animated series, keep in mind they kinda had to make some changes and etc. Don't expect to follow with the lore a lot. Oh. Okay.
Sid discuss the situation with the exiled Green Lanterns on Earth. They talk about the Blackest Night, which will unfold as the 7 colors of the Lantern Corps fight one another. Of course, Atrocitus would be a part of this as the leader of the Red Lantern Corps. What makes him so powerful? The Green Lantern is powerful enough to be one of the primary members of the Justice League. Naturally, as the leader of the Red Lanterns, Atrocitus's strength and abilities put him in a very powerful position. He has a red power battery and a red power ring, the origins of which we have briefly discussed previously. Starting with the obvious red power ring, it can help Atrocitus affect and use the universe's fundamental forces such as radiation, gravity, light, heat, and powerful blasts. He could also create force fields with energy from the user's will. Atrocitus can use it to make people succumb to their own pent-up rage. It allows Red Lanterns to obtain the unique abilities of other Red Lanterns, provided the former drinks the blood of the latter. Vampires, but make it cooler. It can also absorb rage energy and affect the electromagnetic fields to allow the user to fly. So far, these are just the abilities of the ring that Atrocitus can wield, but that's not all that makes him dangerous. With his alien physiology, Atrocitus has superhuman strength and durability. One of his most OP abilities that he uses time and again is his magic. Atrocitus uses blood magic born from ancient rituals to use the powers of the Empire of Tears and the 5 inversions. He could also use the blood rituals to discover the future and attain knowledge of prophecies, such as that of the Blackest Night and the fall of Sinestro. He also uses it.
Red Lantern can actually poison someone. Red Lantern actually someone join the Red Lanterns. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
To track down someone, which he did to find William Hand and the entities of the colors of the emotional spectrum, with magic, electromagnetic fields, impressive physical stats, and an unimaginable rage at his disposal.
Yep.
Wanting to make an enemy out of Atrocitus would be atrocious. He has villainous instincts, but a layered and complex personality. As a result, Atrocitus has occasionally expressed his grief in front of his foes. In fact, a smooth and happy life is not the type that births seething rage in one's heart, making Atrocitus a character who people can sympathize with. And it's good to blow off some steam once in a while, eh? What did you think of Atrocitus? Did you enjoy this video? If yes, then don't forget to like and comment.
Valid. Here. Oh, I've seen it. I've played the whole game. Yeah. That's why I knew about it. Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to dig into this because I pretty much did all of the scaling for all of the Red Lanterns, and I look forward to
We did 2 Mark streams already. We did? Oh yeah, it's 6 hours. 6 sample. Yeah,
sharing
I remember
that with
that.
you guys while I did this Bleed stuff as well. So be sure to like and subscribe because 98% of you guys are not. And with no further ado, let's find out how powerful Bleez is. Bleez's first canonical appearance was actually during Final Crisis of all places, during the Rage of the Red Lanterns tie-in, where we first see the Red Lantern Corps established. And she was, as I'll say down the way, is one of the first Red Lanterns to really get it recruited. She was once an angel.
Yeah, after 15 minutes, bro.
In a faraway space sector who was a wildly...
It's a whole 24-hour stream, bro. We got time.
...notable princess that kind of received the negative end of the Sinestro Corps War, because Sinestro started recruiting a variety of people and she always said no to any suitors or like mates who would show up trying to convince her to marry them. She thought all that shit was stupid. But the problem was the Sinestro Corpsman rolls up and basically claims her for his own and forces himself upon her, and she receives a red ring, having realized she was going to be stuck with this man for the rest of her life, and shreds him apart. However, during the New 52, things get a little bit different whenever it comes to her origin story, because it gets a lot more graphic, and she actually has this guy run up on her, rip her wings out, and unfortunately the guy rapes her. Pretty rough stuff, but to be a Red Lantern, it's gotta be rough. And this is exactly why she hates her mother and blames her for her fate, even going to her grave and spitting on it, blaming her for being a Red Lantern. But this isn't a character analysis, this is a scaling video. So let's get to the scaling. So let's just start off with hacks. And whenever it comes to Bleez, she has got quite a few of them. I mean, she's a lantern after all, and of course lanterns are known for their large variety of hacks and abilities. So her most notable hacks is her red napalm liquid breath, that all of the Red Lanterns have. This stuff is wildly corrosive. And this red napalm hack can actually drain Green Lantern rings if they're charged. But specifically, Bleeze is one of the most notable Red Lanterns, and thus it's by far the strongest. Take, for example, both the time here where she overpowers multiple Green Lanterns empowered by a Blue Lantern ring, just with one strike of that stuff unto itself. Not to mention later on, she can produce so much of this stuff. She literally fills an entire construct full of this stuff before it explodes. Now, she can also amp herself with the rage of others, which is a unique hack, of course, that most Reds have, as well as she basically has sway over other Red Lanterns instinctually, which is really impressive because Atrocitus is the only other person who's shown any capability to control other, like, Red Lanterns. Her napalm blood hacks are actually pink, which is also very weird. She can infect you with rage, and keep in mind that also amps her because, as I said earlier, she gets empowered off of your rage. And she actually does this multiple times, and she can even infect you with her blood and make you rage out. And this is like torturous, dude, because it's cruel and unusual punishment that will last years.
Oof. Also, she's in one comic actually started a civil war in the Red Lantern Corps. Oh.
If you really want. She can also sense rage entire space sectors away, is also really adept at tracking lanterns as well as energy signatures across the universe, and can use blood hacks outside of just the napalm blood hacks, like when she worked together with a few other Red Lanterns to stop a giant red blood tornado that Atrocitus had that was threatening an entire planet. Attacking Bleeze doesn't do too much because Pain also amps her, and she can even just directly invade your mind with rage hacks and mind hacks you to being raged without even the blood hacks of like putting her blood inside of you. So she's got some pretty impressive rage-based hacks that she can inflict on her opponent. Bleeze also has some pretty notable resistances as well, such as the time she was stated to have the greater resistance to mind hacks than Guy Gardner in this specific storyline. And Guy in this specific storyline had already resisted Parallax. The guy who's attempting to invade her mind is someone who works for Krona, also wildly powerful with mind hacks, and says that her mind is directly harder to invade than his. This is really impressive. She also has seemingly greater control over her own mind, despite it not being dipped in the blood pits of Yzmal, which normally grants Red Lanterns intelligence via connecting all the neurons in their brain. She also has a really impressive resistance to magical blood hacks that solo the rest of the entire Red Lantern Corps minus Atrocitus from the 5 inversions, who were like the OG blood mages that actually trained Atrocitus and were the only sole remaining survivors of Space Sector 666. And when it comes to her durability, she can actually tank attacks from Invictus, who's an angel of Vega that Larfleeze managed to kill most of. This guy could literally beat the living crap out of Larfleeze, so this is actually a pretty impressive feat of durability. Speaking of Larfleeze, she also can tank attacks from orange constructs by Larfleeze, which is also impressive. She can tank a blast that's stated to be capable of killing Red Lanterns in general, while holding an enraged Rancor in place for this said attack to happen, and she was fine afterwards. She manages to tank Supergirl's heat vision at point blank range. She tanks multiple attacks from Atrocitus consistently throughout the entire series, specifically during the New 52 Red Lantern series. She also manages to tank a construct of Rancor, who at one point in time held off the entire majority of the Red Lantern Corps with said constructs, which included Atrocitus. Also manages to tank attacks from one of the greatest assassins in the universe, known as Fatality, wielding a Star Sapphire ring, and just gets amped off of it. Also, like I said earlier, manages to fight a majority of the Red Lantern Corps, and she's fine for pretty much the majority of them, and has a unique immunity to the blood pits of Yzmal. She's tanked planetary defense guns and is completely fine, as well as being chokeslammed by Atrocitus in prior versions to the New 52. She can survive having her neural pathways reopened by being dipped in the blood pits of Yzmal. Tanks attacks from a guy who's one of Krona's goons and was physically and mentally empowered by thousands of psychics.
I mean, she was considered the most beautiful one before she became a Red Lantern. Huh. And why ain't she now beautiful?
Can throw hands and tank attacks from Kilowog. Can survive attacks from multiple Green Lanterns at the exact same time. And arguably most impressive of all, tanks 3 Green Lantern blasts to the face while they are amped by a Blue Lantern. Arguably one of the most notable Blue Lanterns besides Saint Walker Worth.
This bitch is toast.
In terms of physical or like energy blast AP, she is pretty brutal in this department, as she can literally just jump on Green Lantern Guy and make him scream out in pain. She can beam struggle against multiple Green Lanterns amped by a Blue Lantern, including Guy. The same guy threw hands with Hal Jordan pretty safely. She can place Atrocitus into a headlock and even draw blood from Atrocitus, which is insane. She casually solos 2 Red Lanterns and then goes to throwing hands straight up on his fucking neck to Rancor, which is wildly impressive. She manages to overpower Star Sapphire Fatality, who normally fights John Stewart as well as like other notable Green Lanterns, and her constructs, while in a weakened state and none of the other Red Lanterns present can break out of these, goes full Darth Vader mode and gives into her hatred to shatter a construct of Fatality while still in a weakened state. And afterwards manages to entirely destroy a Star Sapphire ring. She can throw hands with multiple members of the Third Army that can absolutely shred Reds with powerful hacks such as Scorch, even holding off 3 at a time physically. She can flex out of constructs by Rancor. This is impressive because these constructs held most of the Red Lantern Corps at bay earlier by holding them back. She can knock back Atrocitus when he's at his most powerful, defeats Scalix, another notable Red Lantern, in a 1v1 in just a few seconds. She slaps the fuck out of that Red Lantern Supergirl later on down the road, and manages to hold an enraged Rancor in place. She can one-tap a Red Lantern and just flat out kill him by ripping him in half.
Oh wow. She
can throw hands with Monk, who's a notable Indigo Lantern outside of Indigo 1. Her napalm hacks can even hold off Orange Lanterns, and as well as physically contend with them, and manages to actually harm Larfleeze with those blood hacks as well, making him scream out, "Ah!" Her napalm blood hacks also managed to harm Invictus, that angel from earlier as well. She can create explosions that Bolo, Simon, and Jessica, and then also just immediately going to kicking their asses. And she can also physically contend with Kale Riggin, a notable Sinestro Corps member who wields 2 rings into combat. Bleeze also has some actually interesting constructs, although I'll be frank, she does not use them often, but when she does, they're very dangerous. She has an amazing construct control for a Red Lantern, which isn't like usual outside of Rancor. Now, she can literally control her constructs up to a planetary distance. I mean, even further than that, depending on how far you choose to look at this, but she literally creates a dagger that encircles
to wear multiple rings of the same color. You are?
An entire planetary defense system across an entire planet and kills every single member that is in that system, which is wildly impressive. She rolls up on Simon and Jessica as Green Lanterns, both who are pretty strong at this point in time, and literally just wraps them up with whips and one-shots them both. Bleeze is no slouch in the speed department either. She announces herself to at least 4 Green Lanterns empowered by Blue Lantern Ring here, and none of them can react before she snatches up Guy. She can travel entire space sectors casually to enforce the concept of rage. She blitzes an enraged Rancor, outspeeds the best of the Blue Lanterns, being Saint Walker's attacks and hacks. Can travel through entire solar systems in just like 3 panels.
Anals?
She can even blitz at Invictus and be the first one to make it to him, despite Saint Walker, Kyle Rayner, Arkillo, Monk, and Fatality being here, and Sade, as well as the Weaponer of Cord.
That sounded like anals, bro, not angles. In UK, it sounds like anals.
So traditionally when it comes to the not highest tier characters within verse, I like to focus more on feats than statements, but it's also important to bring up statements when it comes to any character. But take some of these as a big if true. She's stated to have some level of immunity to the violet light and is considered a rival to Atrocitus within the databooks of DC. She is one of the original Red Lanterns that Atrocitus had gathered. Atrocitus is afraid of her intellect when she is scheming, and is not afraid to fight to the death even against Atrocitus, according to Atrocitus. She's not opposed to torture, is constantly scheming to overthrow Atrocitus, and even manages to lead a group of Red Lanterns against Atrocitus down the way. She's considered somebody worthy to be a Star Sapphire, and is not opposed to using flirtation hacks to get in her way. Yo, this one's here for my boy Maverick, bro. Here's the flirtation hacks popping off. Atrocitus also admits she's was worth fearing while not in his absolute prime, and she makes quite a pretty good shit talker too. So here's where I'm going to provide just a little bit of additional context for those who made it so far. And don't forget to like and subscribe down low, because none of y'all motherfuckers subscribe to this channel, even though we're blowing up like crazy. Alright? So Blaze is a Red Lantern who's arguably consistently in the Red Lantern Corps at number 2 or 3, almost always. And that really does depend at what point in time, whenever it comes to that being the 2 or 3. So if Atrocitus is alive, she's almost always behind Atrocitus. If Atrocitus isn't there, she's going to be the one in charge. If Guy Gardner is a Red Lantern like he was in the New 52, chances are she's going to be right behind Guy Gardner. So traditionally around that 2. Now, if both Atrocitus and Guy are alive, she'll be like number 3 Red Lantern. The rest of the Red Lantern Corps doesn't really want to mess with her. Even characters who might be, depending on how you choose to look at it, more powerful than her, like Rancor, just don't traditionally want to mess with her and don't traditionally want to be leading her, because they know she is a wildly powerful schemer, and her influence in the Red Lantern Corps is a very scary thing. Now, she's not going to be throwing hands with Atrocitus at any point in time, but the fact that she can throw hands with Guy or anyone else is pretty crazy to consider. Now, Blaze is also my bae, okay? Look at this chick. And then this section is definitely for my boy Maverick. She is by far the hottest out of all of the Red Lanterns. So much so, the Star Sapphires, the chick's literally based in love, said, yo, you're so hot, you gotta join the Star Sapphire Corps. Just look at this art, bro. Check out the curves. She's got it all. The scaling, and she's got the looks. Let's go. 30 seconds for my boy Maverick. And make sure that both your hands are either on your keyboard or on your phone. That being said, it's been a blast hanging out, guys. I really appreciate you for sitting back and hanging.
Watching some things. And one short.
During the events of Future's End, we actually come across arguably one of the most powerful Red Lanterns that you've never heard about. We come across a man called King Jack. King Jack was the Red Lantern once known as Rancor, an English human who managed to amass an absurd amount of Red Lantern rings, amassing enough to make an entire chainmail outfit of Red Lantern rings, in fact. He created his own construct palace. He sits in Space Sector 666 and takes up separate missions for anybody who comes to visit him, and can even create constructs that went completely separate from his ring, not requiring any tether whatsoever, and is capable of decimating entire planets, and is capable of also creating entire armies at his disposal. King Jack is one of the most dangerous characters out of any of these Red Lanterns we've seen so far. Tell me what you think down low, Later Lanterns.
In it, bruv. FNAF, but with femboy. No, bro, what is this? What's your favorite FNAF game? He found you. That's Satan. Ending and 2 after getting a good ending in it.
Great light has gone out in the universe. Worlds annihilated.
Many hated it.
Lanterns, we face an unprecedented danger. An enemy powerful enough to destroy entire civilizations. To fight this enemy, the Ring chose a human. But I don't need to tell you your duty.
Yeah, it was.
Your name? Hal Jordan. The Ring chose you. Take it. Speak the oath.
Speak the oath, because everybody knows the oath. I pledge allegiance to a lantern that I got from a dying purple alien.
So, this is the chosen human.
The ring turns thought into reality. Its limits are only what you can imagine.
The sword. How human.
Remember, your enemy is not gonna play fair.
Is that what I think it is?
An alien life form, Doctor. The first that mankind has ever encountered.
Son, we're gonna get you well again.
I've never felt better in my life.
They said they wouldn't have chosen me. They didn't see something I don't see yet.
I see. You had the ability to overcome fear.
Stay here.
No problem.
If you die, innocent lives will be lost. Your world will be annihilated.
Help me save my planet.
Fight it. Fight it with me. Brightest day, blackest night. No evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light!
I mean, it seems alright.
So what's it doing in Gotham?
Witnesses spotted this thing trying to plant some kind of bomb downtown. When the cops confronted it, it spewed fire from its mouth.
Yeah, I noticed, but fire's no problem for me. As I was saying, Green Lantern can do anything.
Except shut up, apparently.
Wow, someone forgot to take their true blood tonight.
I'm not a vampire.
Seriously? I thought with the darkness and the vanishing, then what, super strength?
No.
Okay.
Can you fly?
In a plane.
Wait, you're not just some guy in a bat costume, are you?
He is.
Are you freaking kidding me? What? Nobody asked you to prom, so now you dress as a bat and prowl around your parents' basement?
What?
What's this do?
Huh?
No buttons. I assume it works off concentration.
How'd you do that?
You weren't concentrating.
Got his ass. Wait, what?
You won't do that again.
Unless I want to.
Oh.
That's it. Let's rumba, Spooky.
Alien computer.
Alien? Like the guy in Metropolis?
Superman.
You've met him?
No. But I've researched him. His power levels are...
Not gonna be a problem for me.
We'll see. Superman's close. I've been tracking his flight path.
On what? Your own satellite? I was kidding. You have a satellite?
Lantern, focus! You stop concentrating and that shield breaks apart.
He is rich.
Man, what is it with you and sewers?
Someone is strategically placing these boxes.
So, these monsters,
They're soldiers. Expendable soldiers at that. Planting these devices at all costs. That's military tactics. We might be staring down the barrel of a full-scale invasion.
You're paranoid. Let's just crack it open and see what happens.
Idiot.
Hey!
Without any idea what's inside. That's idiotic.
Ha! I'll show you idiotic. Ah! I didn't touch it!
Okay.
Still think I'm paranoid?
Maybe a little less now.
Lantern, plug that hole.
Yeah, I got this.
Concentrate. Your constructs are fading. Your mind is scattered.
Worry about yourself. You're the one without powers.
Jackass.
Batman.
Batman's real?
Yeah, he's over there.
Wait, what?
Batman's real?
It is a real honor to meet you, sir. Batman. Sir, Batman, sir.
Don't bother. The guy's a total tool.
Flash being a
I followed your efforts in Central City, Flash. You do tight, efficient work.
That's cool.
Hey, Barry, you got a little something on your nose.
Hey!
I'm going to get Superman.
Bruce Wayne, huh? Moron's crazier than I am. Get him out of there. His
He knows his
showboating's gonna
identity.
ruin the entire plan. Oh, great. Now I'm Batman.
What?
He's good for cleanup, at least.
Costume? This is my uniform.
Quiet.
Oh, now you want to bark orders? After I did the heavy lifting and pulled everyone together?
You're referring to when you botched my very simple directives and Wonder Woman led the charge?
Cyborg showed you a video.
He emailed it to me.
I really hate you, Bats.
Funny duo.
Here are 5 of the strangest, freakiest, and weirdest members of the Green Lantern Corps that would even make the most seasoned comic reader look twice.
What?
Number 5, Chup. Hailing from a planet of cartoony animals, Chup joined the ranks of the Green Lanterns after his predecessor fell victim to the malicious Crabster army. Notably, Chup resided on Earth for some time, and it's worth mentioning that he grappled with chronic depression. Surprisingly, his demise was rather mundane. He was tragically run over by a yellow truck. Not in a heroic battle, mind you. He was just run over. Number 4, Mogo. Mogo is a sentient planet and a Green Lantern. This sentient planet possesses the remarkable ability to transform the flora on its surface into a colossal green ring. Moreover, Mogo can revitalize fellow Corps members and plays a crucial role in distributing ownerless rings to individuals exhibiting the fundamental qualities of a Green Lantern. Number 3, circa 2029. First seen in the miniseries The Last Days of Animal Man, Earth's Green Lantern in 2029 isn't Hal Jordan, John Stewart, or even human at all. In fact, he's actually a gigantic whale with the ability to talk and a strong willpower, and if you're wondering where his ring is, it's connected to his tummy. Number 2, Box. When we ponder the concept of extraterrestrial beings, our minds often conjure up humanoid forms, perhaps adorned with tentacles or other peculiar characteristics. However, what likely doesn't cross our minds is the idea of a rectangle. Yet, that is precisely what characterizes Box. Box is an old rectangular box armed with the powers of the Green Lantern. Number 1, Decryptsy. Decryptsy is a living mathematical equation made of pure willpower and endowed with the ability to erase individuals' memories. Similar to some other lanterns, Decryptsy is perceptible solely to the Green Lantern Corps' leaders, the Guardians of the Universe.
Bro, what? Okay.
What you did, you meathead! Chili dog! All right, still.
Green Lanterns are categorized by their indomitable willpower. They are often portrayed as strong and capable of doing anything. But what if we tell you there's a Green Lantern who was once so afraid that she caged herself in a room for 4 whole years? This Green Lantern is none other than Jessica Cruz, a female Green Lantern who was not only chosen by the Green Lantern ring, but 3 different rings throughout her lifetime. In today's video, we will dive into her origins and discover how she went from being afraid all the time to being one of the strongest Green Lanterns in the universe. But before we get started with the video, we have a small request for you. If you like our content, but it means a lot to Willpower, the journey of Jessica Cruz, who transformed into a female Green Lantern. Jessica Cruz was first introduced in the Justice League Volume 2 issue number 30. In the last panels of this issue, we see that in Portland, Oregon, Sarah Cruz is calling out to her sister Jessica to let her inside her room. She apologizes that she didn't trust her when she predicted about the apocalypse. Here, she's referring to the crime syndicate's attack on Earth. Sarah requests that Jessica open the door and let her in as she feels guilty and wants to talk to her. But Jessica denies it and claims that she can't let her in. Soon, we realize why Jessica was not letting Sarah into the room. The ring of Volthum is in her room and announces that Jessica Cruz has been chosen to destroy the Earth. Jessica was terrified of the ring and told Sarah it was not the right time to talk to her. The ring again announces that Jessica Cruz has been chosen to destroy the world. This terrifies Jessica, and she tries to hide from it. The ring taunts Jessica, asking if she is hiding again. The ring tells that it knows everything about her, how she has been hiding ever since she was attacked in the woods, and how she left her friends to be killed. It reveals that Jessica is terrified because she thinks that the unidentified killers are still out there, and that's why she hasn't left her room in the last 4 years. The ring reveals that Jessica's fear is so strong that it was attracted to her, and her fear will fuel the destruction of every living being on the planet. Jessica starts crying and accepts that she's afraid because she knows how dangerous the real world can be. Jessica takes out a shotgun and tries to shoot at this ring to kill it. The attack does not
I mean, she has a reason. A killer that kill her friends and shit.
Affect the ring, and it taunts Jessica, claiming that it could have been so much easier for her, but she chose the hard way out. The ring then forces itself on Jessica Cruz's finger. Later, Superman calls Bruce and tells him that Cyborg has detected some emerald energy in Portland, Oregon, and asks Batman to rush to the site. In Portland, Oregon, the ring has completely taken over Jessica Cruz's body. Under the ring's influence, she starts hurting innocent civilians and lights a fire in the city. Jessica asks the ring to stop, but the ring announces that Jessica is his puppet now and that she is going to burn the world for him. Jessica claims that she needs help, and her pleas are heard by Doom Patrol, who arrives on the site and announces that they will help her. The Doom Patrol starts attacking Jessica Cruz to take the power ring from her. Jessica also starts attacking them, but claims she doesn't want to, and the ring is making her do it. The ring then announces that it won't come off her finger until she is killed. Chief from Doom Patrol hears it and starts shooting towards Jessica Cruz to kill her. The Element Girl stops the bullets and reveals that Jessica is not in control, so it's not fair to shoot at her. Jessica Cruz flies away from the site. The Doom Patrol notices a nearby building on fire and realizes there are innocent civilians stuck in that building. They want to go and save the innocent, but the chief stops them and asks them to follow the power ring. The team hesitates, but the chief claims that if the power ring is not detained here, it will kill hundreds, if not thousands, of people. So they must prioritize. Right about then, the nearby building explodes, but it turns out that the Justice League has saved all the civilians from the site. The Doom Patrol argues with the chief that they should have helped save the civilians, but in a fit of rage, the chief says that the Doom Patrol's only task is to help him, as he is the one who fixed them and has the power to take it back from them. Cyborg tries to get closer to Jessica to help her and gets a hold of her. When Cyborg tries to shut down the ring, it takes over Cyborg's body and reveals its backstory. The ring reveals that he is Volthum, the first bearer of the ring. He was cursed and imprisoned inside this ring for centuries. The world it had come from is now destroyed, and now he is dying. The only form of pleasure he had in the 1,000 years of being trapped in the ring was watching the bearers of the ring fail and die. He reveals that this ring is drawn to the weak and afraid, like Jessica Cruz. He then reveals Jessica's story to the cyborg. He reveals that Jessica is a survivor. She and her friends once went hunting in the woods, but they saw a few men burying a body. They tried to run, but the unidentified men killed all her friends, and Jessica was the sole survivor
Y'all
of
have
this
guns,
incident.
though.
Cyborg asks the Ring, what does it want? The Ring answers that he intends to light a fire that can be seen through the multiverse. The fire will act as a beacon and will attract being who destroyed his world and bring him into this world. The Ring then short-circuits Cyborg, and both Cyborg and Jessica fall unconscious. The Doom Patrol arrives near Jessica's body and realizes this is the perfect time to obtain the Power Ring. The Chief instructs the rest of his team to stop the Justice League, as they will never be able to help Jessica, and he is the only one who truly understands the Broken. When the Chief tries to obtain the ring from Jessica, Lex Luthor sneaks up on from behind and warns the Chief not to go near the woman. The Justice League and the Doom Patrol start fighting as Lex Luthor reveals that he knows everything about the Chief and how sinister his experiments can be. Right about then, Jessica Cruz wakes up and Shazam asks her what she did to Cyborg. Jessica claims that it was all done by the Ring. The Ring then makes Jessica hallucinate by showing the figures of the men who killed her friends in the woods. This makes Jessica overwhelmed with fear, and she lets out a powerful blast that shakes off the fight between the Doom Patrol and the Justice League. Batman notices Luthor, and Luthor reveals that Jessica has agoraphobia, which is a fear of the outside environment. He also says the Power Ring is similar to the Green Lantern ring. The only difference is the Green Lantern ring feeds on the emotion of hope, and the Power Ring feeds on fear. Lex Luthor claims he can save Jessica from
Yeah, I was confused, like what? It's like a Green Lantern ring, but it's not.
This ring by severing his connection with her and asks Batman to keep the Doom Patrol busy. Lex attacks Jessica with an electric shock. Just as he is about to go near Jessica, he is ambushed by the Chief. The Chief reveals that the ring has taken over her brain, and the only way to save her is to perform psychosurgery. Lex tries to kill the Chief, but Batman saves the Chief. The ring then attacks Lex Luthor and nudges Jessica to save herself and kill everyone, as all of them want to kill her. Jessica is about to lose her mind, but Batman goes near her and reveals that he was once afraid too. He was afraid because he couldn't save the people he loved as they died in front of him.
Yeah.
His fear ate away at him until he decided to let go of his fear, and she could do the same. Jessica started believing Batman, but the ring tried manipulating her into believing she couldn't do anything without him. Jessica reaches out to Batman for help. Batman holds her hand and asks her to let go of her fear, and after doing so, Jessica reverts to her human form, and the power ring she was wielding turns silent. This is how Batman saved the day and Jessica Cruz at the same time. Later, Jessica Cruz joined the Justice League, and Hal Jordan taught her how.
Much as I disagree with him, he knows what being a human is.
How to use her ring and control her newfound power. The newest female Green Lantern in the epic saga of Darkseid War. During the Darkseid War event, the daughter of Darkseid Grail arrives on Earth to seek the weapon to summon a being with the powers to defeat his father. Grail finds Jessica and defeats her. Using Jessica's ring, Grail calls the Anti-Monitor to Earth to fight Darkseid. The battle between these entities overwhelms the Justice League, and to help them, Jessica helps Mr. Miracle release the crime syndicate, who assists the Justice League in their fight against these monsters. However, since the ring was close to the crime syndicate, Volthoom gained immense power and took over Jessica Cruz's body. Later, Grail called upon the Black Racer to kill Flash. Jessica jumped in the tracks of the Dark Death, sacrificing herself to protect the Flash. But it turns out that the Black Racer didn't kill Jessica. Instead, it killed Volthoom, who was inside Jessica Cruz's ring. This broke the ring on her finger, and she lost the powers of the Power Ring. Since Jessica was able to defeat her fear, she was awarded a Green Lantern ring and became the new Green Lantern of Earth. Jessica Cruz against Atrocitus, leader of the Red Lanterns. Jessica Cruz makes another appearance in Green Lanterns, Rebirth issue number 1. After the battle with Darkseid, Jessica returns to her normal life, Jessica meets with her sister and reveals that she was kicked out of her house. Right about then, she receives a distress call from Hal Jordan. As it turns out, the distress call was a test for her and Simon Baz, another recently appointed Green Lantern of Earth. However, they both failed the test because of an absence of teamwork. Thus, Hal Jordan asked them to call upon their power batteries and merge both of their batteries into one. This means they had no choice but to work closely as a team. Even though it has been some time since she became a Green Lantern, Jessica was still struggling with anxiety and her new powers. Simon was also unhappy because he was stuck with Jessica. Things took a turn for the worse when the Red Lantern Corps attacked Earth to convert Earth into a new home. During this invasion, Jessica was in a mall with her sister Sarah when her sister was filled with rage by the Red Lanterns. But Simon came to her help and rescued Sarah. Later, when Simon and Jessica were fighting Bleeze, another Red Lantern, Simon successfully cured Bleeze of her rage. But Jessica accidentally messed it up by reverting her to her rage self. This enrages Simon, and they argue about it. Suddenly, Jessica is also infected by rage and starts attacking Simon. Simon tries to help and successfully cures her of the rage. Simon then asks Jessica to help him defeat the Red Lanterns, and Jessica assists him. Amidst the fight, Jessica's negative emotions gets the best of her, and she starts having panic attacks. However, Jessica starts fighting her fears with a newfound resolve. She succeeds, and her willpower also increases. This allows her to create her very first construct. They fought and defeated Atrocitus, the leader of the Red Lantern.
How does that sound like Stephen Hawking? What?
After the fight, they started getting along very well. Later, at Simon's house, they find that a Guardian of the Universe was waiting for their arrival. The Guardian asks to meet Hal Jordan, but Hal is in space and is not answering any calls. The Guardian introduces himself as Rami and says he did something he shouldn't have done. He created a lantern ring that anyone can pick up and use. He created the Phantom Ring, Jessica Cruz's mission to protect the Phantom Power. After the arrival of Rami, the Guardian of the Universe, he reveals that the other Guardians exiled him because he made this Phantom Ring.
Hey,
Rami was fully aware of the power and destruction this ring was capable of. That's why he tried countless methods to destroy this ring, but he was unsuccessful. So then he asked Simon and Jessica to protect and keep the Phantom Ring safe. Jessica and Simon accepted this duty. Jessica was terrified because she had to interact with Simon's family. Jessica was struggling with her anxiety, and she was having constant anxiety attacks because there were so many people. Jessica even tries to run away, but Simon stops her. Simon says if Jessica helps him make cookies, then she will have to engage in small talk with her family. Jessica liked this idea and helped Simon make cookies. Meanwhile, the Guardian is meditating in one of the rooms in Simon's house, and suddenly he runs out screaming that the Dominators are coming. So, Simon and Jessica searched for the Guardian everywhere in their neighborhood and found him after knocking on more than 25 doors. The Guardian was terrified because he saw that the Dominators were coming for the Phantom Ring. So Simon and Jessica helped him calm down, but suddenly they are attacked by a group of aliens who reveal themselves as Dominators. Simon and Jessica fought them and eventually defeated them. Afterward, the Guardian reveals how he created the Phantom Ring and why it is the most terrifying weapon to be ever created. Jessica Cruz's surprising transformation into a Lantern of Fear. Jessica Cruz makes another appearance in the future state, Green Lantern Volume 1, Issue Number 1. It is revealed that Jessica Cruz lost her powers after her destruction of the Central Power Battery of O and was stranded in Section 1.
I guess Sabin could check it, right?
123. Since the sector was abandoned, Jessica spent almost a year at the station and became the protector of this sector. When the members of Sinestro Corps arrived in the sector to take over it, Jessica Cruz defeated all of them without any powers. This impressed the Yellow Ring as it realized that Jessica...
Hank J. Wimbledon. Bitch. I'll stop. Plastic gun.
Not only fought her fears, but can also instill fear into her opponents. Thus, she was given the yellow ring and joined the Sinestro Corps. Using the new ring bestowed upon her, Jessica made her way to New Corrigar, where Sinestro gave her the new position of Yellow Lantern. Sinestro assigns her a mission to save a spacecraft from crashing into the Earth's moon, and she succeeds in her first mission. Impressed by her, Sinestro gives her a power battery, and Jessica accepts her new role as the Yellow Lantern.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Beyond the panels, Jessica Cruz's vibrant portrayals across various media. Apart from her comic book portrayals, Jessica Cruz also appeared in various TV shows and animated movies. Jessica appeared as a prominent lead in the DC Superhero Girls TV series produced by Warner Brothers. In the show, Jessica was voiced by Myrna Velasco and played a teenage version of herself who studies at Metropolis High School.
Underrated.
In fact, this series shows the adventures of female superheroes of DC Comics in their teenage years.
It's good.
Apart from the series, Jessica is a prominent character in the DC Lego universe. She was featured in Lego DC Superhero Girls, Supervillain High, DC Comics Superheroes, Aquaman, Rage of Atlantis, DC, Shazam, Magic and Monsters, where she was voiced by Christina Milicia. She appeared in other animated movies, including Justice League versus the Fatal Five and DC League of Super Pets. Jessica Cruz also played essential roles in crossover events like Teen Titans Go and DC Super...
I mean, this cartoon, obviously. Hey, Sabi, can you check Beats link? I don't think you were here.
Hero Girls. Mayo.
I mean, it's 1640, 19 minutes.
In the Multiverse and Justice League XRWBY. Superheroes and Huntsmen. Jessica Cruz's Green Lantern powers and extraordinary abilities. Jessica Cruz is a Green Lantern, so it's obvious that she would have a myriad of superpowers that the Green Lantern possesses, like energy, constructs, and indomitable willpower. Jessica can create anything that she can imagine with the power of her will. But apart from that, she also has some unique abilities. Jessica can summon or send anyone to the Green Realm. The Green Realm is the dimension where the souls or consciousness of the previous Power Ring hosts reside. Jessica gained this ability because she was the last wielder of the Power Ring. Apart from this, Jessica is an expert hand-to-hand fighter with proficiency in using firearms. Also, Jessica is an expert hunter with experience hunting wild animals. Jessica also possesses the ability of intimidation, where she uses to scare others. She had this ability, but it was dormant until she received the yellow ring and fully manifested this power. Marvelous verdict. Jessica Cruz started out as a character who was afraid of everything. She had agoraphobia and social anxiety, and because of that,
I mean, we don't fuck with anime in here. That's why.
She stayed locked in her room for more than 4 years. But later down the line, this character received the Green Lantern ring, which is only bestowed upon those who show remarkable feats of overcoming fear. Apart from overcoming fear, she also became strong enough to instill fear in others. This feat earned her the yellow ring. What's even more impressive is that she defeated the members of the Sinestro Corps without any superpower, which showcases her impeccable planning and strategic thinking. This character growth is truly remarkable.
I mean, I am gonna react to it, but you just got the wrong people to react to it.
And you know who includes remarkable characters in their movies. James Gunn. James Gunn has confirmed that he will introduce Guy Gardner in the new DCU. So it would be weird if he didn't include a character like Jessica Cruz in any of his next projects. This means we will see a live-action Jessica Cruz in the next 5 years or so. With that being said, if you like our content, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
That was just Halloween, though. It's not. It is.
It's such a magic
mean, I'm down for Jackbox. I mean, yeah, it is anime. Kinda. Why did you redo the edit? Like reused it. That's kind of lazy, no? Sabin still not down for Jackbox. Choose my character. Wait, what? This is a real game? Oh yeah, I'm going out of there. That is a cool idea. Sorry for sending anime edits, Marxist21. I mean, yeah, you better be sorry. It looks cringer than a fucking Wow, imagine you're playing as Project Gestalt. Right. What's Kelsard? What, man? I think these are just custom made. Yeah, I would play it. Hey, that was Hank. That's me, bruh. That's me, bruh. That's me, bruh. That's me, bruh. Yeah. I'll stop. That was cool, though. That's not how he would act. Bruh, answer what, bruh? Do I forgive you the parts? I mean, you like anime, you do you, I guess, but we don't like anime. That's all I'm saying. From the other Nanda's combat. Oh, Purple Sky.
Boss, we will not allow you to return.
No chucklehead from the other place is coming into my world without I say so.
Yeah, go back to hell, buddy.
Haha, I got two.
This seems anime-ish.
Huh?
Okay. Sure, man. Read you. What you said. He'd be more like, oh, I'm there. Oh, Hank? I guess, yeah. True. Come close to not forgive. Bro, what is this, bro? Bro, what is that fanfic? Two types of lords. Well, the second one is obviously the best lore. Sadness combat.
Young man, kill yourself!
I'll kill myself in my sleep. As always, love all your mentals. Hope you enjoyed your stay, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Yeah, if not today, tomorrow. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the 24-hour stream. So peace out.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Hey, I'm not that guy, but I am that fella. So, peace out and a good night.